Welcome to the Gals Guide to the Galaxy podcast, where a group of gals gather for you one cool thing around our topic of the month. Is it ancient history? Is it breaking news? Is it safe for work? Well, that's up to each gal. All we know is that...
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Welcome back. I'm Katie, and I'm joined by Bonnie, Leah, and Cammie talking about our one cool advertising thing. Bonnie already talked about misrepresentation, but before we dive back in, let's get to know something random about our gal pals. I want to know, what is the last thing you bought specifically because an ad convinced you?
Ooh. All right, I will go first. And mine is totally lame, but at the same time, Katie's going to love this.
Love it.
Every time an Olive Garden commercial comes on the damn television, I have to go to Olive Garden. It's like, what is this? They have mastered those commercials to show me the breadsticks, to show me the salad, and then to show me some creamy pasta that I can't make.
Oh, yeah.
Because that salad dressing, I can't make that.
You're making me want to go to Olive Garden.
That's what I'm saying.
Work for them.
There's something in that damn, like, I mean, it'll happen every now and again where I'll see an advertisement for, you know, another restaurant, and you know what I mean? You'll be like, oh yeah, I could go for that. But every time I go, damn it. And then Josh is like, so we're going to Olive Garden this week? Yes. Like, I'm mad about it at this point because Olive Garden ain't cheap, y'all.
No.
But it's tasty. So that's the one that gets me every time.
Food ads are hard. I feel
really
that
are,
too.
man.
I'm just like slightly hungry and sitting on the couch and suddenly something amazing comes on TV. Have you guys ever seen any of those how they make food look good in ads?
Yes.
Oh, none of it's even edible. It's crazy.
Mashed potatoes is ice cream.
Are lipstick colored on them. Yeah.
Uh-huh. It is mean
Maple
tricks.
syrup is oil.
Yeah, what the hell?
It's weird. I kind of am fascinated by it, though.
I like to know the tricks behind the curtain, so I like to know it. But they do make that shit look good.
So good. Better than it's ever been there, I have to say.
What McDonald's burger have you ever gotten that has looked as good as it is in that commercial?
None. Never.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist.
Happen.
It's the Cindy Crawford.
It is.
Tying back to the last
I wonder
episode.
if there's like some really gross carrots sitting around that are like, why can't we look like those carrots on the ads?
Right?
Dang it. No.
No, the ingredients are feeling objectified.
Right.
They've been falsely represented.
And then you have
represented in advertising. They were going to riot.
Disney foods that are dancing out of refrigerators. I have never seen my groceries do that.
Right.
I don't know. What's yours, Miss Bonnie?
I'm trying to think. I know I've clicked on stuff.
Right. But did you buy it, though?
I bought, I'm pretty sure it was an ad that I got my hair colory stuff.
But it was teal, and that's your favorite color.
Teal.
Isn't that the easiest sell ever? It's like, is it?
It's like
is
it
teal
knows
color?
me.
I know, right? It does.
Wait,
it literally actually does. Yeah. It's an algorithm. It's figured
there
out.
you go. I was going to say a logarithms.
Yes.
A logarithms. They gotcha.
I know I click on some stuff. I'm trying to think if there was anything that I
was
actually bought. Like, I know I bought the overtone stuff, but...
Right.
Oh my gosh, I keep seeing the overtone on Facebook and I want it.
I have yet to
They're
see
so
that.
Good.
I mean, Bonnie shared it with me, and yet it hasn't shown up on my feed yet.
Strange.
Maybe they just know I'm a Faria girl.
I'm still waiting for the flood of women's history books to pop up on my Facebook ads.
Yeah.
For looking for stuff for the library.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't happened yet.
You know what I've been getting? I've been getting stuff that says librarian on it. So like today it was a pair of Converse that say librarian on them and like books. So I'm getting and back to school. Get your librarian degree now at whatever university. That's the ones I'm getting instead. Thanks, Facebook.
I think that counts because I'm in the same boat, Bonnie. I've started watching Hulu and Netflix, which Hulu, I watch it with commercials. But none of them have gotten to me yet. But the Facebook ads are where I'm real weak.
Is that where it
I'm
gets
like,
you?
yeah, I want a shirt that says I'm namaste, except for all these profanities. I ordered that, guys. I ordered that. I also, at least I've trained my Facebook. You're talking about the women's history books. My Facebook does seem to know my politics. I think my most recent purchase was lip gloss called Fuck Trump.
Nice.
So it has sucked me into. That's a real hard one for me to scroll past and be like, oh, and it says it's cheap too.
Right,
Oh.
of course, exactly.
Yeah,
This
I got
represents me as a person, and it's under $20.
Yeah.
Done.
Buying it.
A few times a month, the Descent pens pops up.
Oh, those are hard.
Yeah, I got earrings.
There you go.
Cammy, do you resist the Facebook ads?
I know, right?
I never go on Facebook. So
True. But you watch a lot of
Smart.
Hulu, though.
The Hulu ads
That's
don't
where they
really
will get you.
The Hulu ads don't really get to me. The only time that they get to me is with the Marvel ads. They play the Endgame ads. It's just, we should go see that again in theaters.
This
But
is true.
I just need to wait to have that movie break me for the third time.
Yeah.
That was probably the last one, was Endgame, where it's, oh yeah, we should go see that again.
Didn't they?
And again and again and again until we die.
Because they went to re-release it with extra stuff in it.
Yeah, like an
Yeah.
extra couple minutes of stuff.
We'll go see it again.
Yeah, that's the
They
thing.
wanna break
They
the-
did that, and then they did an ad like slightly before that, and it was that, and then the news that they added stuff, and it was, yeah, we should go see that again. I mean, we didn't, but I still kind of want to,
There's still time.
even though I've already seen it twice.
It's trying to beat. Well, it did actually officially beat Avatar'd. So,
Yes.
that's forever is what I call that movie, is Avatar'd. Because you can't rip off Dances with Wolves and Fern Gully and think I'm going to call it a normal freaking name, James Cameron. It's
And
Avatar'd.
Pocahontas, it's like
And
the whole
yes.
white savior stereotype.
It's
Oh my God,
not
that movie's
original
awful.
material at all.
No, but South Park has ruined James Cameron for me.
Good.
I think I showed you.
You did. Because the song?
It's a song that they do halfway every at the break. It's like they talk about they've lowered the bar for like television and stuff with
Yeah.
like Honey Boo Boo, and that James Cameron gets in his little submarine to go find the bar, and he has made his own little theme song.
Because the bar has been lowered and he will find it because, you know.
It's James Cameron.
He also wants to make sure the bar is as low as possible. I'm just saying.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Cammy, but since you're quite a bit younger than all the rest of us, do you remember as a kid ever desperately wanting something for a holiday or a birthday
Do you remember?
because of advertisement?
That hasn't happened in a while.
Yeah, because we got rid of cable.
Because we did cable. That would have been my downfall. I mean, I know. What was this weird pillow things that we wanted because of an advertisement? That was probably
Pillow
the
Pals or
Pillow
something
Pets?
like that?
The Pillow Pets.
Pillow
The
Pets.
Pets.
Yes, that
That
was
was-
an advertisement thing. Yes,
It wasn't.
That was a
it was just,
Nickelodeon
I
thing.
really wanted it, but I've always been weird with. I don't want too many gifts. I'll be fine. It's just
You were pretty good.
I have the one expensive thing that I want,
Yeah, she
and
does.
then I shut down all my other wants to prioritize. I'm currently trying to get a Lego Mustang.
Yes.
Looking at you.
I know you are. I feel it. I know you want that Lego Mustang.
It is the
Legos
love
are
of my
cheap,
life.
y'all.
I mean, she doesn't want a real Mustang, Mom.
Correct. I
Not
know
yet.
exactly. That's why I woohoo.
Not yet. There is still time.
There is still well, I did notice definitely, and I don't want to speak for my glorious child. Please correct me. We got rid of cable when Breaking Bad ended. That was like Breaking Bad season finale. The next day we got rid of cable. The Christmas list from both of my babies went from everything on the commercial break to these are just a few things that I want. Like the Christmas list and the birthday list was like way cut in half, and it was the things they really wanted, that they saw, that they knew they would play. It was interesting just how it changed from you have to have this to this is what I really want. And that's what was fascinating. But a lot of the stuff that you would see on the commercials, I would wait for her to ask me like 3 times. You know what I mean? Like I would wait and see if you really wanted it. Otherwise it was like, I'll gladly spend the money on something you want versus, you know what I mean, 3 things
Right.
that you don't want.
Absolutely.
Does that sound fair? Do you remember like the list getting smaller or anything like
Not
that?
really. I mean,
Gotcha.
it does sound accurate because I was just seeing a lot of the toy ads less because we had stopped watching SpongeBob constantly on Nick
Right. And now we just watch it on DVD.
and Amazon. Yeah.
I think there's a YouTube channel where it's just SpongeBob 24/7, like it's streaming.
See. Is it a YouTube Red or like an actual YouTube?
I think it's a YouTube
Probably
not
just
channel, but
just
it's
a
like a
YouTube
live
stream.
feed of
Right.
YouTube live stream. Yeah.
Yeah.
of all the YouTube.
I've seen those. I try to resist those because I mean, I try to limit my bootlegs as much as possible.
There. Well, I remember when Twitch did the Bob Ross stream
Oh
live
my
event.
God, yes.
Oh, that nearly broke the internet. We were watching that.
I watched it when they first started it, and it was the most joyous occasion of my life. It's just, there would be just the giant spam of ruined, saved. Because everyone loves Bob Ross.
Except for Sam, my youngest. Bob Ross puts her to sleep in about 2 minutes.
He's a very peaceful man.
calming.
That's why the Twitch changed it, because the chat is...
It keeps you awake. Wait.
The chat is a chaotic neutral at all times, so it helps keep you awake. I get Bob Ross, it does make you a bit sleepy.
Right.
But for some reason, that made it very fun to watch everyone's constant reactions and trying to make it as chaotic as they possibly could. And it made it a lot of fun to watch.
I dig it. I like it. Well, Katie, who do you have for us? Who is your one cool thing?
I feel like I'm always being contradictory to our group effort.
You are fine.
If you guys choose one person, I choose a theme.
Yeah.
If you guys choose an advertising campaign, I choose a person.
That is totally fine. You keep us on our toes.
I don't know.
Plus, you're also giving the variety, which is the spice of life.
Spice of life. And I know I'm influenced by advertising, but I've been removed from the cable, like you were talking about, for quite a while, so I couldn't really think of an advertising campaign. So I turned to Google, like we all do, to kind of find out who are like the firsts and the big power players. And I know Leah mentioned some at the beginning of our
Just
intro,
a few,
the first, and they were much older in time than who I've brought to the table.
Yeah.
So they were kind of the very early pioneers, and then we went through the Great Depression and then World War II. And so the person I'm bringing to you is in the 50s and 60s when really
boomers.
Yeah, advertising took off because we were finally done with the Great Depression, with World War II.
People had money and babies.
And they wanted to buy things.
Right.
Exactly.
There was a Cold War going on where you could spark fear to buy more things.
Exactly.
Compulsively buy things.
So, I mean, there's a reason Mad Men is, a crime show about advertising agencies.
Absolutely.
That was kind of quite the glory day for it.
Yeah.
But much like every job industry, it was slow to recognize the genius of women.
Of course.
To incorporate them into it and include them. So the person I'm talking about today is Mary Wells Lawrence.
Nice.
Yes, and she has many firsts to her name. But really, she was the first to make a name for herself with having her ideas listened to, is how I think of it.
Nice.
She became the head of so much, and I'm going to refer to my paper so it makes more sense.
Absolutely. Tell us how she broke on through to the other side.
Broke on through. Well, as all linear biographies go, I will tell you she was born in Youngstown, Ohio.
Oh, she's an Ohio Midwest
She's an
gal.
Ohio Midwest girl that made her way to New York.
Wow.
She was born in 1928.
Gotcha.
Her mom always wanted her, really was, I think, quite the feminist herself, because she didn't want her daughter to look for a husband and rely on that. She wanted her daughter to do what she wanted to do and be herself. Hopefully I'm not speaking out of line, because Mary Wells Lawrence is still living, so
right.
If you heard that, ma'am, I hope I'm correct. But due to my keen internet research, her mom put her in elocution classes to get over her shyness, and put her in acting and dancing classes.
Oh, okay.
And she even went at 17 to a special school for, I believe, acting in New York.
Gotcha.
But then she decided she wasn't interested in performing. She wanted to go down another path. And she transferred to Carnegie Institute of Technology in Pittsburgh. And I don't know what she studied, guys. Oh, fashion advertising management.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like a lady does.
Look at that. I like that they group those together, actually. Interesting. Because I'm just saying, there's a lot of variety you could go with job-wise on there. So, nice.
Absolutely. So she went to school for a couple years, and then she got married. And then she decided to go to New York.
Cool.
So she headed to New York and worked in Macy's in merchandising there.
Gotcha.
And then she moved into more advertising situations.
Gotcha.
She worked at a few firms. She became a copy chief and vice president.
Ooh.
So she just didn't move in and do the ads. She wanted to run the show.
Yeah.
She entered into a Jack Tinker and Parker's agency, started a project called the Tinker Tank. Tinker Tank.
I like it.
Exactly.
Sounds very 50s, 60s.
Isn't it? So it was taking some of the brightest, most creative advertising individuals and letting them just concentrate on the biggest accounts that, like, it was a think tank of them. And when they had, like, a really something important to do, they would come to them.
Yeah.
And ask.
They were, like, probably, like, the brainstorming group. You know what I mean? Think outside the box kind of group.
Absolutely.
I do love those.
So I feel like Mary Wells Lawrence probably had a really interesting personal life as well. I'm going to get into that in a little bit. But I will say that she has a biography that I think we need to add to our list.
Ooh, yes.
What is it called, guys?
I know. What did she do?
I've
her name.
done some super impressive highlighting.
I like how Bonnie's like, I'm ready for the list. I'm going to add it right now.
She is on top of it.
Bonnie's like, this is my job.
Bonnie, I'm going to work through it and then I'm going to tell you. But I just wanted to touch on her personal life, that during all of this, she was married for a few years. She got divorced.
Gotcha.
She married him again.
Oh, she pulled an Elizabeth Taylor, did she?
She did. Divorced him again, of course. And then made connections in her advertising world and met the president of an airline who was super into her. And she was like, I'm a little too serious about my work.
Right.
Don't really have time for you. And
you could jet set around the world.
Right?
Anyway, go ahead. Yes.
I will say one impression I've gotten is that she is a hard worker. She's determined.
Right.
This
and
is
she's
her
driven.
life.
Yeah.
Very driven.
Got it.
So about the time that she met him, she had been working at that think tank and at another advertising agency. And they were talking to her about how they wanted to make her president because she should be president and she's amazing. But they just didn't think that it would work to have a woman president. Right?
Sexism.
And Mary was like, I quit. Yeah.
Screw you,
so
boy,
she
bye.
met two people she worked with during this time period that she worked well with and she was really close with, and they all set out on their own to start their own ad agency.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So when they started their own ad agency, she became the chairman of the board, the executive chief officer.
Yes.
Which means that when their ad agency went public in 1968, she became the first female CEO of a company traded on the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Look at
so
that.
she's breaking barriers in advertising, but just in women being CEOs and management across the board.
Right,
First
exactly.
female CEO in a publicly traded company.
Huh.
So, and one of the biography little blurbs I read about her talked about how she really got paid a great salary for the time too.
Right.
And that by, I think, 3 to 5 years into this, they were making millions of dollars a year.
Oh, wow.
For their ad. Now, when I tell you some of the ads she's responsible for creating, I think you'll understand why the money was rolling in.
Right.
Do you remember these words, guys? Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, what a relief it is.
There it is. Look at that.
She did the Alka-Seltzer ad.
Nice.
She did the New York City campaign, I Heart New York.
Oh, really? Because I always think of
that.
the John Lennon shirt, the I Heart New York shirt. Very nice.
Yeah, it was, I don't know what all forms it took, but I saw a little blurb of a TV commercial where I love New York and had, it was very 70s-tastic.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. She did the Ford Motor Company Quality is Job One.
Gotcha. I don't
I'm not
remember
as
that
familiar
one.
with that one.
Gotcha.
No.
Maybe, Cammie, when you learn more about your Ford Mustang, we'll come across that one and be like, oh, yeah.
There you go. And then one of the most impressive, really encompassing ads she did was the man I was just telling you about that she met that worked at a major airline, was president of the airline, came to her to completely redesign their airline.
Yeah.
And her slogan for this was basically, why fly on a plane? So she was the first to come up with this idea of painting the plane bright colors. Gotcha. And she had, what's his name? Emilio Pucci. You know, all the swirly and bright, colorful designs.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm so far off my notes here, guys. But, oh, yeah.
You are fine.
So the stewardess were in outfits designed by him.
Oh.
And so just really embracing the colors of this era and incorporating it into the design of the plane, the outside, the outfits, and the advertising slogan.
I'm picturing like Austin Powers. Remember when they had the plane and like, okay. All right. Sweet. Look at that. A plane.
Why fly in a plane? So they also did things for American Motors, Cadbury Schweppes, Pan American World Airways, Procter & Gamble, RC Cola, Sheraton Hotels and Resorts. So they had major big clients.
And they're like all over the map as far as different, different things too. So yeah. Oh wow.
Yep. She was introduced, or what would you call it? And she was named to the advertising. She was named Advertising Woman of the Year in 1971.
Ooh.
She was inducted into the American Advertising Hall of Fame.
Sweet.
Oh, and here you go, Bonnie. Her autobiography is called A Big Life in Advertising. It was published in 2002.
Oh,
so I think that would be really interesting to read, especially as I got to know more about her, because I think her life philosophy is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I want to find my notes on this. Oh, and I kind of want to describe to you her lavish lifestyle that being such a megastar afforded her.
Right.
So she had 30 homes.
Whoa.
30?
Yeah, I like that you almost did a spit take.
I really almost did 30 because I'm like, I thought you were going to go with 3. Like, I thought you were...
No.
30? That's one for almost every day
Private
of the
planes.
month.
I mean, she also married a man that was quite wealthy, but she had her own in her own
She married him a
respect.
couple of times, too, it sounds
well,
like.
no, this was her third husband.
Okay, all right.
Harding Lawrence.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so... And when she sold her company, it sold for millions and millions and millions.
I would think so.
After working in the field for 40 years.
Wow.
It was finally sold off.
She created an empire.
She absolutely did.
My goodness gracious.
So the thing I wanted to talk about that was kind of interesting that I think would be a fun discussion for us was kind of her attitude about work and home life. Because I know nowadays we talk a lot about balance.
Right.
And we talk about changing the system so balance is possible.
Yeah.
Because there's so much discrimination for working women taking time for their children if they want to be mothers or whatever.
Yeah.
So her philosophy was that work came first.
Gotcha.
Husband came second. Kids came third.
Ah.
She had 2 adopted daughters.
She had 2 adopted kids?
Yes,
too?
she did. 2 adopted girls.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. That she eventually only saw on weekends because of all the travel her work entailed.
Oh, wow.
So she was serious when she said 1 is work, 2 is husband, 3 is kids.
Right.
And I was kind of wondering how you guys felt about that.
I started reading a book that we have at the library, which is Mad Women, because it's the turn on Mad Men. And it's Jane Moss, and she said the same thing too. She said, my priority is my career first, my husband second, and my kids third. She did walk her children to school every day, and she lived in New York City, so she walked them down the street. And she talks about the struggle of trying to her daughter was in a talent show, struggling of during her lunch break to get to the talent show to support her daughter, but at the same time she knew which she was going to choose, and it was going to be work. If she had to be in the meeting, she was going to do the meeting. And it's like, it almost feels like at that time when you're pushing so hard to be in a man's world and be taken seriously, this is the male dynamic, though. The male dynamic was work first, wife second, children third. And so they're just taking on the male role because that's what you see. You know, if you can see it, you can be it. In this case, it's terrible. Yes.
Right.
Guys developed that role because the wife was always at home with the kids. Was her
Right.
husband at home with the kids, or did he also have his own job?
He had his own job.
He had the airlines.
Yeah, he
That's
was
what a
president of
nanny
the
is.
airlines.
If they both
Yeah.
had a busy job, then that is a bit strange. That she's only seeing them on weekends, and they both have busy careers. That can't have been easy for the kids.
Yeah.
If they've got 30 homes, they probably have a nanny.
Right.
They have an
they're
army
raised
of
by
nannies.
nannies. Yeah, exactly.
Army of nannies and boarding schools.
Well, I think it's
Right.
interesting. I was actually able to find in this little biography of her how her daughters felt about this.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was really split. She has one daughter who's gone on to become an investment banker at J.P. Morgan
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
that lives in New York.
That is serious. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And she was fine with this.
Gotcha.
She said we
She learned
talked
how
on
to
the
be
phone
driven.
a lot.
Yeah.
It
She
pushed her to be
said,
independent.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And she said she felt like she was there for all the big major things and she was totally
There you go.
okay with it. But then her other daughter, her reaction was the opposite, and she's become a stay-at-home mom.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. They're both completely split, and their careers reflect maybe how that impacted them. I don't know.
And I think that's pretty, it's got to be pretty accurate as far as, it depends on the kids. But then at the same time, it also depends on, well, what do you want to, leave this world having done, sort of thing. So.
And she goes a little...
I know I couldn't do it, but it's interesting.
Well, I feel like she goes a little further than even like, you choose you, I choose me, and this is who I am. There's a quote here that says, I think women who spend the most productive years of their life nurturing children are unhappy.
Oh, gotcha. Well, it might have made her very unhappy. That's the thing. Like, to me, it was the fuel that made me happy. So I was like, but I need it.
Right.
But I am a people pleaser, Katie.
But I think she kind of has like a very big personality.
Yeah.
It says she believes that success only comes from the extreme and urgent desire to be successful. She said, you can't just be you. You have to double yourself. You have to read books on subjects you know nothing about. You have to travel to places you've never thought of traveling. You have to meet every kind of person and endlessly stretch what you know. Is another quote by her.
See, and yet I also agree with that at the same time.
Right?
Complex.
It is. So she was just really fascinating to read about, and I hope that someday we can get her biography for our library. And kind of see her personality and more about what drove her to become such a successful trailblazer.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or questions about?
Did she have a good response to when people would ask her, but who's home raising the kids?
I don't know. That would be fascinating. I'd want to find that out in her biography.
Yeah, this is true. If she was straight like, well, we have a nanny. Or if she's like, why? Who's raising your kids? What level of sarcasm and sass was on a response to such as that? And
it's interesting, what did drive her to adopt?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and then the man she married also had children. So I think they had more than just the two girls because of his family as well. So
yeah,
it'd be interesting to know more about her personal life.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the idea of different strokes for different folks. You know what I mean? It's like, where do your priorities lie? What makes you feel complete and happy? Mm-hmm. And then also, is there a middle? Yeah. You know what I mean? Is it, or you take like, I like this part, and now I'm going to create a new little middle for me.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be one extreme or the other, but it could be that too.
But I think it's good to recognize, that there are people that live in those extremes, and that's what drives them, makes them happy, and who they are.
Yep.
Well, that wraps it up for us this week. Join us next week as our next gal pal shares her one cool thing as Gal's Guide to the Galaxy podcast continues. Thanks for listening.
For show notes, links, and images from this week's show, visit galsguide.org. Want exclusive stuff like deleted bits and major bloopers? Become a Gal's Guide patron today. Thanks for listening.